So joining us today to discuss the implications of Nigeria's involvement in the Samoa Deal is Sam Kargbo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also joining us, Sonnie Ekwowusi, Chairman, Human and Constitutional Rights Committee, Africa Bar Association. Welcome, sir. He's in the studio here with us.
Thank you very much. Yes. So, I mean, it's no longer an allegation that the Samoa Agreement contains LGBT clauses. It is the fact, because I participated in the negotiation of that agreement. I am the chair, Human and Constitutional Rights Committee of the African Bar Association. And I go to United Nations, so I'm familiar with United Nations euphemisms. I'm also familiar with the European Union euphemisms. Since the year 2019, the European Union has been traversing several African countries and lobbying for this agreement to be signed. Nigeria said they were not going to sign. That was as at November 15, 2023. Nigeria said we were not going to sign.
We're going to get to I'll let you get to that, but I wanted to start with Sam Kargbo, who we have online. So, sir, if you're with us, we'd like to know, how does the Samoa Agreement specifically impact Nigeria's legislative framework regarding LGBTQ rights and related issues? We are aware that it is an economic deal or a trade deal, but many have said that this LGBTQ nuance is being sneaked in. How does it implicate the situation?
Well, let me start by saying for now, it's at the realm of policy. Mind you, irrespective of the color of that agreement, until the promoters of the agreement take the further step of ensuring that it is domesticated, it may not in any way affect our laws. Yes, we could say in the area of implementation, because in any case, at the end of the day, it is the executive that would be the one implementing our laws. Mind you, there are laws banning gay marriage in Nigeria. And those laws, for now, until they are amended or repealed, they are sacrosanct. No executive agreement in any guise or sense would override those laws.
All right, sir. Now, we'll come to you,
Let me respond to the senior advocate's impression. That he has rightly stated the law by virtue of Section 12 of the 1999 Constitution. All treaties that can be implemented in Nigeria has to be ratified and domesticated so it becomes a part of the Nigerian law. That is the law. But the Samoa Agreement is couched in such a devious way that once pen is put to paper in signing, it becomes operational in the country. They are aware of domestication, and that's why they made it in such a way that once you put pen to paper, it becomes operational. And that's why we advise that they should not sign in the first place. I know about domestication, I know about ratification. I had a meeting with some members of National Assembly, including the chairman in charge of Committee on Treaties, Protocols. He was in that meeting, and they said they were not even aware that Nigeria has signed. National Assembly, that represents you and I, some agreement is going to be tabled in National Assembly on Tuesday. But they are so minded.
They say they are not aware that Nigeria has signed. But it has been signed.
It has been signed.
Who signed?
Who signed was a Nigerian diplomat. I would not like to mention his name. Nigerian diplomat in Brussels. He signed on 28th of June 2024. Who mandated him to sign, we don't know. Who asked him to sign, we don't know. But Nigeria has said they were not going to sign. Because we were able to convince them that, look, Samoa Agreement is so dangerous. 34 African, Caribbean, Pacific countries had not signed, including Namibia. And when Namibia signed, the refused to sign was that the agreement has no interpretation clause. Okay?
I think it's best to ask now, if you're saying that all of these countries have not signed,
yes,
and that because they are drawing back because of that clause of LGBTQ plus support, then it begs to ask the question, what exactly is the fine print of this agreement in terms of the potential, economic potential benefits for the country, or drawbacks?
It is a post-Cotonou agreement which is purely an economic. Cotonou Agreement is a purely economic agreement. It didn't contain any of these clauses. These clauses were inserted from 2001.
Sorry, if you will, Mr. Sonnie, Mr. Sam, if you would allow me, let me read these articles from the agreement. This is Article 2.5 of the agreement. The parties shall systematically promote a gender perspective and ensure that gender equality is mainstreamed across all policies. It wasn't specific on LGBTQ.
Yes, it was.
Then,
you don't have a,
Article 29.5 says the parties shall support universal access to sexual and reproductive health commodities and healthcare services, including for family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. So
yeah,
it
let
wasn't
me
absolutely
respond. Yes, it's not.
I would like to take.
I started by saying that this is. I'm familiar with United Nations euphemisms and European Union euphemisms. At the UN, I was there in March. At the UN, the word LGBT is not always mentioned. They use euphemism, gender equality. Gender is not different between male and female. Gender now connotes LGBT, connotes sexual orientation, connotes transgender even. So that innocent word, the word has changed, okay? The word has changed. I'm happy that, that you're having me in your studio because I would say I'm an expert in this, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go to Mr. Sam. Why don't we, Judith?
Well, Mr. Sam, let's talk about this. I was asking about the potentials of this, right? But also, considering the strong cultural, religious objectives within Nigeria that we do have, what are the political ramifications for the government now that this has been signed? They're saying that the House did not know about this, the Assembly didn't know about this. Diplomats that we will mention have now signed this. And nobody asked for this signature. Let's try to clarify this. What will be, the political ramifications of all of this?
Now, let me just chip in this. Not in Sonnie's lifetime or your lifetime, my own lifetime. I'm much older anyway. Would you have LGBT promoted in Nigeria? You see, they say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating, or the devil is in the detail. Yes, executives and whatever, especially diplomats, they always want to toe the fine lines. They always want to look good in the eye of their peers when they go outside the country, and many times they sign so many treaties. We have 1,001 treaties that they've signed that are lying dormant. It is not the signing that I'm worried about. It is when Nigeria wants to take advantage of that, when you now have to have the country-specific details in the agreement. That's when these issues become very, very potent. It is good that we are actually putting some emphasis and some sort of concerns now that they have not taken it to the National Assembly. And in any case, I do not think it's a prerequisite that whatever any diplomat or any executive wants to do out there, he has to consult the National Assembly. Yet it would be good for him so that at the end of the day, when it now comes to them, he would have made them ready. But it is not the law and it's not a requirement. But what is the requirement is that you cannot put it in place, you cannot implement it until you have their own authorization in the form of what? A law. And that's where the ratification comes in, the domestication of the law comes in. So for now, in terms of, yes, the political ramification of that, the politicians know what sentiments play in their fortunes, in their political fortunes. They would answer that. I, as a lawyer, I am a little bit much more tilted towards concerns about the legal narratives that we give. We shouldn't give the fearful narrative that haven't been signed that could by itself manacle Nigeria or force Nigeria to start promoting LGBT. No.
Kargbo, but the point is that Nigeria already has a subsisting law from 2014 about sexual orientation, or rather, gay, or what's the word now? If you will help me out.
LGBTQ
marriages
rights.
and all. Now, if the Samoa law has even a semblance of a nuance to that, and we have signed it, does that not put us under obligation to actually follow through if we want to access the monies that are available, the $150 billion that are available? Doesn't it seem like we did this signing under the pressure of accessing these funds? And I'll let Mr. Sonnie also touch on that. But real quick, if you can summarize your response on that.
Now you are talking. No foreign money comes to you, thrown at you for free. They come with their conditions, or what we call conditionalities. Usually, you see what happens here. For every round of what they call investment or support to Africa, they bring all sorts of conditions that you have to fulfill before you can access those funds. And most of the time, our colleagues who are in the civil society, they are not in the dark. They know because they participate in, just like Sonnie said there, they participate in framing the conditions for access to that money. But at the time, they come within this fine package, you could call the Greek gift of saying, you must be a promoter of what? Fundamental rights. And mind you, rights vary from culture to culture. For us here, we already have those rights that we have considered very fundamental and very, very dear to us. We already stated them clearly in the Constitution. And for those other rights, some of the statutes, they have some of them, like the child rights that are themselves now subject specific. But for today, I can tell you for free, in a country like Nigeria that is steeped in religion, you don't play with that, irrespective of how massive the funding may be or attractive it may be. The moment you touch that threshold, or you go beyond that threshold of what? Moral and social tolerance, you have this sort of pushback, and I can tell you for free, I'll come back to my word, not in your lifetime.
All right, Mr. Kargbo, we need to make room now for Mr. Sonnie to...
I would thank the learned sake as hit the nail on the head by saying that money is always involved, the money that is assessed, in this. I think we know very well that this was signed in order to spite Jonathan. No, Jonathan made anti-gay law. So this is to make the EU happy. So Nigeria will be able to access this money. This is what has happened now, to sign this. But about whether it has to be domesticated before it takes place, I know very well. We have gone to Federal High Court. I'm the lawyer that represented the NGO that went to court, where we exhibited. It's already been implemented in Nigeria. This so-called thing, they don't have to wait for domestication. They are so bold. Went to Federal High Court. In Nigerian school, what they are teaching them, jail boys and jail girls, we exhibited the syllabus, okay? Where they are teaching them, touch the genital organ and all that, how to do sterilization, These people are bent on decapitating the human capital of Africa. This is not a conspiracy theory. I've touched it, I've seen it. I travel, like I told you, I was a part of negotiation about Samoa agreement. I go to the UN. So what they are after is to decapitate the human capital of Africa. So they are teaching this in schools. I went to court at the Federal High Court in Lagos, and the judge was embarrassed. This is what I said, they are teaching in the public schools. Of course, the government asked for the matter to be settled out of court. They are going to remove all those for the syllabus.
So is that on the way? Are they removing these clauses?
They have not done so. As we speak, I would like to get in touch with the senior league so that they can join us in the battle. They have not removed it. So they are taking it for granted before signing the Samoa agreement. It's been implemented piece by piece.
But how is it implemented and passed through all the checks?
I will tell you that Federal Ministry of Health is guilty, Federal Ministry of Justice is even guilty, and Federal Ministry of Education is guilty, okay? I go to Abuja and I said, why do you allow this to happen in Nigeria? Where, as Leonard Stick has said, where you have sensitive religious moral values, you are implementing this in Nigerian schools. They tell, the syllabus, they call it comprehensive sexuality education. That's the name, because Samoa agreement does not only contain LGBT, it also contains comprehensive sexuality education where kids have been told that sex is their right, girls boys and girls, you know. I know the schools, public schools, so I can give names. So I'm not just doing theory here, okay? Mention, and that's why we are disturbed. I go about and all that and about this. In the African Bar Association, we're also worried. When we have our meeting, in our last conference, South Africa, we are saying, why is this happening in Africa? Not only in Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, they are all being invaded by these people.
Mr. Sonnie Ekwowusi, we are out of time, but we wish that we could continue the conversation. But tell you what, and Mrs. Sam Kargbo, if you're listening, we would like to still come back to this conversation.
We'll come back,
Please
yes.
do not leave. Let's do the news at 9 o'clock,
We'll
and then we'll be back to continue with this conversation. Do stay tuned. And welcome back inside of the studio. It's still Mazino, of course, Judith Atibi here, as we continue our conversation from before about the signed Samoa deal between Nigeria and, Samoa. This, they say, has a little nuance or a little clause that has been snuck in that promotes LGBTQ rights in Nigeria, where we have laws subsisting where this is illegal. We still have with us Sam Kargbo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and of course, still in the studio here with us, Sonnie Ekwowusi. We've been talking about this from before.
I would like to mention the area of implementation of Samoa agreement even before it is domesticated. You know, I told you that we have gone to court to question some of these things, and we have the textbook in my office. I have the teacher's manual in my office, where I will have come with it, where they have photograph for sterilization, the LGBT targeted at under 6 years old. I have to go to the National Broadcasting Commission, where they are about to show cartoons for children about LGBT cartoons. You know, so they want to catch them. So even before Samoa, before signing, they are so bold to be implementing this thing because they get hold on our department, ministries and all that, National Broadcasting Commission, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Education, and this has been implemented. After now that it has been signed now, they are going to be asking Nigeria to be sending reports to be able to assess the funding that we're talking about, or how some agreement is being implemented, irrespective of your domestic laws, of your Same-Sex Prohibition Act of 2014, which is a law, which Leonard's sake has mentioned that is a law in Nigeria. They cannot about your laws.
Okay, so
I
was going to say something, right?
Yes.
You were saying education, National Broadcasting Corporation, these are all heavily regulated ministries. So you're saying, and this is happening long before the Samoa deal was even signed into agreement. And so it begs to ask a question, given how heavily religious we are, Christianity, Islam, or traditionalist, we are very, 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 very religious people who are very, very conservative. How come no parent have raised concerns about the curriculum you're speaking about?
A committee. The parents went to court, Federal High Court, I told you, which I have the writ, the court process in my office, where we exhibited what is being taught to our kids. Even universities, first year, you know, in first year university, you have borrowed courses, you know. Right now in universities, they have some borrowed courses on this so-called thing. They are trying to, you know, reorient us from the way we are as a religious, cultural people. First year university, in fact, a university in the north, one of the questions that was set for the students, it was terrible, to describe sex, you know, how they enjoy sex as a course in the university. They were ashamed to answer it. So now that it has been signed, they are going to be asking Nigeria to send reports. They say Nigeria is not fulfilling its international obligation on Samoa. Now, because, you know, you don't have to, your laws will be there.
Mr. Sonnie, I ask again, this curriculum you're speaking about, there's an education system, there's a ministry, there's a board that is in charge of curriculum. How did it slip from primary all the way to university level before the Samoa deal?
We I've written them several times, petitions to them, they say they would do something. Attaching you know, I'm not talking theory. I have them in my office, even biology, physics, chemistry textbook are smeared with all this.
So what you're saying is, or rather, what you're insinuating is that in spite of the fact that deals like this will be domesticated based off of our own ideals and culture, that in spite of all of that...
you have to invite me to talk about this teaching this I
think we should do that.
Because you're running out of time because it is actually a fact, and we've gone to court 3 times on this. One of them, they came to my office and they were asking, how do we settle out of class? I said, where do you smear? How can you smear physics, chemistry textbook, and even mathematics? In mathematics, they say 20 condom minus 5 condom. Yes, we smear with them. I'll bring it live. I'll show on screen.
We would like to see that, Mr. Sonnie.
Very interesting. But Mr. Sam, by the way, sorry to have left you out of this conversation, but let me ask, right? And I asked this question earlier, so I'm gonna ask this again. For those that are home sitting down and looking at this deal, $150 billion agreement. What is the economic benefits to Nigeria? Because signing is a different thing, but what is the economic benefits to Nigeria?
I do not think that money is all of it is for Nigeria. I think it is what EU is putting on the table, and the conditions we are discussing here are what they have put in place to say if you want to access this, then you should be disposed to this. Of course, we need money. Of course, it will take us a long time for us to have the ability to catch up on our infrastructural needs. There is a lot of gap there in almost every facet of our life that would need money. And if the money can come cheap, fine. But like Sonnie has said, if it comes with that package that in itself mutilates our human capital or sense of humanity, then it becomes a hot potato that we shouldn't be bothered with. We should be looking out inwards. It is because we do not have enough resources to cater for ourselves. That's why we go around asking for this sort of fund that asks us to do that which ordinarily we should not do. But let me don't miss this opportunity to state here. What Sonnie has been discussing is an effect of what the NGOs or the civil society have been doing out there. There is a failure of regulation. That regulatory failure is what is expressing itself in the smuggling of this sort of provisions or literature that Sonnie is quarreling with. Some states in the north, they have reacted and have asked most of those books to be withdrawn from their schools. They've done that, and I'm sure certain states are going to have a rethink and look at what the implication of the literature that children are exposed to. We have a lot to do in terms of regulations and monitoring and oversight. The NGO society, it's good, but I can tell you, if we leave the space to them like we've been doing, they are the one actually that are driving in this imperial culture that we are talking about. And they are good at it because there is money to be made. They are paid handsomely, and their salaries are dependent on how much of space they cover. So they come in very fine language, fine literature, very tempting. They say, okay, we are going to do these books for you for free. We are going to, they take you to all sorts of courses. At the end of the day, you agree, they smuggle in these things. And the Ministry of Education by itself, I do not think they are as good as they were those days in their supervisory role. Those days, we have inspectors who go to schools regularly, and the principals and the headmasters, they know, they get the books, even the notebooks that the teachers prepare, they make them available to the supervisors for them to look and ensure that what they are teaching according to what they approved curricula. But this is, I have not seen any inspector out there, and the model of the space out there now is what? Controlled by private educators. And those ones are sometimes much more driven by the drive to make ends meet than commitment to the general cultural safety of our kids.
Mrs. Sam Kargbo, we want to say thank you very much for joining us today on this conversation. And of course, Mrs. Sonnie Ekwowusi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Your insights have been very, very helpful on this matter.
Thank you.